The cries for help began as a faint murmur, barely distinguishable over the roar of traffic. Then they grew louder, more desperate, until they became a clamor that no one seemed to hear. It was midday in the heart of the city. The sun beat down relentlessly on the asphalt as cars sped by, indifferent. Drivers honked irritably, as if the man lying on the ground were an annoying obstacle rather than a suffering human being. Some pedestrians stopped briefly, watched him from the safe distance of the sidewalk, shook their heads in pity or discomfort, and continued on their way without looking back. Lying on the side of the road, amid the dust and accumulated trash, lay a man in his 60s. His once elegant suit was now stained with blood and mud. His wooden cane, broken in two, rested a few inches from his motionless body. Just minutes earlier, a speeding taxi had struck him without stopping. The impact tossed him into the air like a rag doll. He landed with a thud on the pavement, rolled to the side, and lay there, moaning in pain, trying to move but failing. The people who saw him fall simply watched. No one came forward. No one called an ambulance. No one wanted to get involved. A few feet away, a 23-year-old woman stopped her delivery motorcycle by the curb. Her name was Camila Rojas. She was wearing a bright red jacket with the logo of the courier company she worked for, and a black helmet scuffed from use. On the screen of the cell phone attached to the handlebar, the clock read 12:43 p.m. She had exactly 17 minutes to deliver the package she was carrying in the rear box of her motorcycle. If she was late, she'd be fired. There was no margin for error. The package was labeled urgent, fragile, and already paid for. An important client was waiting. Camila took a deep breath, her hands trembling on the handlebars. She looked at the old man once more. His face was pale, covered in sweat and dust. He was breathing heavily. From the sidewalk, someone whispered in a low voice, "Stay out. If you help him and he dies, the police will blame you. Don't you remember the case last week? That kid who helped an accident victim ended up in jail. I'm not taking any chances." Camila listened to every word. She felt fear settle in her chest like a closed fist. But then, like a whisper from the depths of her memory, she heard her mother's voice. That soft, firm voice that always guided her through the most difficult moments. Even if the whole world turns its back on you, never turn your back on someone you can help. Always help, Camila, always. Tears filled her eyes. Her hands were still shaking. This was the moment, the decision that would define everything. Save her job or save a life. Camila jumped off the motorcycle in one swift, determined movement. "Help me, please! We have to get him to the hospital!" she screamed at the top of her lungs. But no one moved. No one took a step forward. She ran to the old man and knelt beside him. "Sir, please don't fall asleep." "Stay with me," she whispered in a shaky voice as she tried to lift him up by taking him by the shoulders. He was too heavy. She tried to flag down a taxi by raising her hand, but no one stopped. She looked at the back of her motorcycle, then back at the old man, and made the hardest decision of her life. She took off her safety helmet, left it next to the back, and with great effort managed to lift the man into her arms. She lifted him onto the back of the motorcycle, holding him with one hand while accelerating with the other. She launched herself into the chaotic city traffic, dodging cars, horns, and stoplights, her heart pounding so hard she felt like it would explode. He didn't look back even once. If you made it this far, leave me a comment telling me what you would do in that situation. Would you risk your job to help a stranger? Let's go back a few hours earlier, at 6 in the morning. In a small apartment on the outskirts of the city, Camila was already awake. She was 23 years old, but her life had aged much faster than her body. She had showered, made breakfast, ironed her twin sister's school uniforms, and was now carefully combing one of their hair in front of the cracked bathroom mirror. Lucia, the more talkative of the two, chatted away as she let her hair be combed. "Sis, Mom said you needed to sleep more," she said sleepily. Camila smiled tenderly as she arranged her braids. "I'll go to sleep when you're with the doctors," she replied softly. Camila's life had changed forever. One terrifying night, exactly 1 year ago, a group of armed robbers broke into her home. They took everything, her car, her phones, her jewelry, her savings. And then, for no apparent reason, they shot her parents and fled. It was never known why. There were no suspects. No one was arrested. Absolute silence. Camila was orphaned overnight. No uncles to help her, no aunts to take her in. Everyone disappeared after the funeral. She had to sell everything left in the house to survive. She dropped out of college. Her dreams were put on hold. She offered any job that didn't require a degree. And she found one, delivering packages on a motorcycle. It was hard work, poorly paid, and dangerous. Most of the delivery drivers were men, but Camila was brave. She learned to drive fast, deal with difficult customers, endure stares and comments, and protect what little she had. Her red jacket became her armor. Every morning, Camila got up before dawn, made breakfast, took her sisters to school, and then hopped on her motorcycle and hit the city streets. Her boss, a man named Sanchez, was relentless. The package must arrive in 25 minutes. If you're late, you're fired. No exceptions. That day's package was special, urgent, fragile, already paid for. An important client, the kind of job that couldn't be messed up. Although Camila had left early that morning, fate had other plans. Back to the present, the hospital smelled of disinfectant and fear. Camila burst through the emergency room door, half carrying, half dragging the unconscious old man. A nurse rushed toward her. "What happened?" she asked, alarmed. "Accident. A taxi hit him. He can't breathe properly," Camila replied, her voice breaking. "Get a stretcher, quick," the nurse shouted. Within seconds, several medics surrounded the man and rushed him toward the emergency room. A nurse approached Camila. "Are you a relative?" "No," Camila replied, still breathing heavily. "I found him lying on the street." She searched the pockets of the man's bloody jacket and found his cell phone. The screen was cracked, but it still worked. There was a single number saved as a favorite. Camila dialed. It rang once, twice. Then a deep, tense male voice answered on the other end. "Dad? Your dad was in an accident. Please, he's at San Miguel Central Hospital. Come quickly," Camila said urgently. "I'm going there right now," the voice replied, and the call was cut off. 30 minutes later, a luxury black SUV screeched to a halt in front of the hospital entrance. A tall man about 28 years old, dressed in an impeccable white suit and expensive leather shoes, got out. He ran inside. "Where is he? Where is my father?" he shouted desperately. Camila stood up from the bench where she was sitting, her hands still shaking. "Are you his son?" "Yes. Where is he?" "Were you the one who called me?" "Yes, sir, I brought him here." The man stared at her, a mixture of astonishment and confusion. "Did you bring him on that motorcycle?" he asked, pointing outside. Camila nodded. "Yes, sir." He didn't say anything else. He pushed past her and ran toward the emergency room where her father was fighting for his life. "Do everything you can. He's all I have. I'll pay whatever it takes," she told the attending doctor. Camila returned to the accident scene. When she arrived, her motorcycle's box was open and empty. The package was gone. With tears in her eyes, she returned to the hospital. Her phone rang. It was her boss. She answered and explained what had happened. "Wait, are you telling me you lost the package?" Sanchez asked angrily. "Yes, sir, I'm so sorry." "You're fired. Don't come back to the office." And he hung up. Camila's voice trembled as she stood waiting in the freezing hospital hallway. She remembered where she'd left the box. She was lost. Everything had vanished like smoke. She turned and walked back into the hospital, her legs about to give out. The long hallway was colder now. When she entered the waiting room, she saw the man in a white suit pacing by the emergency room door, his face tense with worry. His suit gleamed under the fluorescent lights, but his expression showed pure fear. Before Camila could say anything, he looked at her and recognized her. "Camila, right?" he said. She nodded. "Yes." He took a deep breath. "My father is stable now," she said. "But the doctors said if I had arrived a few minutes later, he wouldn't have survived." Camila swallowed, feeling a mixture of relief and guilt. "I'm glad he's okay," she said, her voice shaking. He nodded slowly, then tilted his head slightly to the side. "You lost your delivery package, didn't you?" "Yes, sir. The box disappeared. Everything's gone." He exhaled sharply. "You worked for SwiftSend Delivery, didn't you?" Camila looked at him in surprise. "Yes. How do you know?" He smiled slightly, a mirthless smile. "Because I'm the owner of that company," Camila froze. What? You're the owner? He continued. You work at the downtown branch, right? The office next to the gas station. Your boss's name is Sanchez, right? He reports to my regional logistics team. Camila's lips parted, but no words came out. He pulled his phone from his pocket. What's your full name? Camila Rojas, she answered quietly. He typed briefly on his phone and then pressed call. Sanchez, you just fired a girl named Camila Rojas. I reverse that decision right now. Assign her another package or give her the day off. No excuses. He hung up without waiting for a reply. Camila gaped at him. Didn't you have to do that? Yes, I had to, he said calmly. You left your job at risk and put your life in danger to save my father. That can't go unanswered. I don't want to hear thank you, but I do want you to know something. What you did today wasn't just a good deed. You gave me my life back. He sat down properly on the bench. Now tell me, he said after a brief silence. Who are you? What's your story? And that's when Camila began to tell him everything. She told him about the robbery a year ago, about that ordinary night that turned into a massacre, about how the police were never able to catch the killers, about how at 22 she had to become both mother and father to her twin sisters, Lucia and Micaela. She told him how she had to sell everything, the computer, even the school books she herself had used to be able to feed them, how she dropped out of college to start working, and how the delivery motorcycle became her only hope for survival. He listened attentively, not with pity, but with respect. And you didn't ask for help from relatives? He asked gently. Camila laughed bitterly. They disappeared after the funeral. Everyone said they were too busy. Some even blamed us, said my parents shouldn't have lived in that neighborhood, so I stopped calling. He clenched his fist slightly, but said nothing. And yet, he said slowly, today you helped a stranger on the street. Camila nodded. My mom always said to help everyone you can, no matter what. She said kindness is never lost. Those words hit him like a fist to the chest. Kindness is never lost. He turned away for a moment, as if gathering his thoughts. Then he came back. Where are your sisters now? At home. I dropped them off at school before the package shift. They're probably back. Do they know what happened? She shook her head. Not yet. He stood up. You're going home alone today. What? I'm going to drive you myself. He smiled. Because I want to thank you properly, and because I have a feeling they deserve better too. That same afternoon, the black Bentley pulled up in front of Camila's small suburban house. The rusty gate opened slowly when he pushed it, and he got out of the car wearing leather shoes that gleamed in the afternoon sun, attracting the attention of all the neighbors. When they entered the small yard, everything seemed to stop. People stared out the windows. The children playing soccer stood still. A car as luxurious as that, in a neighborhood like this, didn't go unnoticed. Nor did a man in a designer suit and expensive perfume. Camila suddenly felt ashamed. She looked at the cracked walls, the clothes hanging on makeshift clotheslines, the plastic buckets stacked next to the broken faucet. She had tried to keep the house as clean as possible, but poverty shows even if you wash everything with gallons of soap. He didn't say anything. Inside, the room was tiny and dark. There was a bed against the wall, a study table with a flickering lamp. A photo of her parents hung on a nail next to an old calendar where Camila had handwritten her deadlines. Sister, Mom, Micaela shouted when the door opened and ran into Camila's arms. Lucia followed her with a smile until she saw the man with her sister. Who is he? They asked in low voices. Camila smiled. This is Mr. Victor. He helped me today. He knelt down so he was eye level with the girls. It's a pleasure to meet you. I heard you're very smart and brave. They laughed shyly. Yes, and also, Sister did our hair today and we look beautiful, Micaela said, looking at Victor curiously. He smiled for the first time that day. A smile that reached his eyes, although there was still sadness behind it. They were so lucky to have a sister like her. Camila felt tears coming to her eyes, but she held them back. Please sit down, Camila said embarrassedly, removing books from the only chair. He shook his head. No, I'm fine like this. Then he turned to the twins. So, you're Lucia and Micaela, right? Yes, sir, they said simultaneously, laughing. How old are you? 10, Lucia said. But I'm the oldest by 2 minutes. I was born second, but I'm taller, Michaela added, pointing at her sister. He smiled tenderly for the first time that day. You're very lucky. Your sister is someone very special. Camila smiled shyly and lowered her gaze. Then he spoke to her again. What's your plan now? I don't know, she answered honestly. I was fired, and even though Mr. overruled that decision, my boss won't let me go back in peace. The motorcycle was borrowed from the office. I have to return it tomorrow. After that, I'm going to look for another job. He looked at her, deep in thought. I want to help you, he finally said. Camila's eyes widened. Help me how? First, you're going back to that branch. I'm going to send a corporate memo that will go directly to the office. But you're not going to continue as a delivery girl. Camila raised her eyebrows. So what am I going to do? You'll see. But the most important thing is this. I want to help your sisters too. Their studies, the rent for this house, everything. From now on, you won't have to worry about what they're going to eat tomorrow. Camila stared at him, unable to speak. I'm not doing this out of pity, he added. My father is alive now. He asked me who saved him. When I told him it was a young girl on a delivery motorcycle, he smiled and said, You didn't just save my life. You gave me back my hope. Tears streamed down Camila's cheeks. Lord, I don't even know how to begin to thank you. You've done enough, he said softly. But there's something important I want to ask you. Would you and your sisters consider moving into my house for a while until you get your finances back on track? I'll help you go back to college. I'll enroll your sisters in better schools, and then we'll plan the rest. Camila's mouth opened even wider. Living with you? Yes. My house is very big. I live alone with my father. He's a stubborn but kind old man. I think you guys there would bring joy back. You saved him. He deserves happiness near him. Camila hesitated. She looked at Lucia and Michaela. The girls' eyes were already shining at the idea. I don't know what to say, Camila whispered. Say yes, Victor replied with a smile. A week later, that house looked like something out of a movie. White doors, marble floors, a driveway that could park more than 10 cars, chandeliers in every room, and a cook who prepared food that Lucia and Michaela couldn't even pronounce. At first, Camila felt out of place. She wore jeans and t-shirts despite the new clothes she'd been given. She helped the cleaning staff clean. She asked permission before touching anything. But Victor's father, Mr. Adebayo, broke all that tension. Camila, sit here with me, he said from the living room sofa. This house has been too quiet. It needs laughter again. He started calling her my nurse without a uniform. Within a few days, he had her eating more, smiling more, and even insisted that she walk with him in the garden every morning. One afternoon, he looked at Victor and said, This girl has a soul of gold. She wasn't born to be ordinary. Victor didn't respond. He watched her from across the room, and something new ignited in his chest. Respect, and maybe something more. After a while, Mr. Adebayo and Victor sat down with Camila to talk about her returning to college. Camila was moved to tears. Victor explained that she would be returning to high school through an accelerated program. Returning to the classroom at 23, among much younger students, wasn't easy. Some whispered about her. Other girls sneered, but she paid them no attention. She was back to school, and that was all that mattered. She studied harder than any other student. She asked questions. She stayed after school, and when the exams were announced 3 months later, she earned the best grades in the entire school. Victor read the results in his office and smiled proudly. I knew you'd make it. He called Camila into his office. You're going to college now, and I know what you have to study. What? She asked excitedly. Data analytics, he answered. It's a growing field nationwide. We need people we can trust, people like you. Camila felt her heart explode with joy. You trust me like that? I told you from the beginning, Victor replied gently, and in that moment, something silent passed between them. A look, an understanding. Neither of them said it out loud, but they both felt it. It was an evening in the garden. Fairy lights strung between the trees twinkled. The soft wind stirred the leaves, and the sweet smell of jasmine filled the air. Camila stood on the lawn, watching Lucia and Micaela play hide-and-seek behind the manicured bushes. Their laughter filled the garden like music. It had been over a year since she'd heard them laugh like that. She turned slightly and saw Victor standing on the porch, his hands in his pockets, silently watching her. But his eyes weren't looking at just anything. They were looking at her. Camila felt that strange thing in her chest again. Irregular heartbeats. It grew stronger every day. Since they moved there, everything had changed. She'd been given a second place in life, school, safety, and peace. Mr. Adebayo, the old man she saved, was now like a grandfather to her. And Victor had become something even she couldn't explain yet. Someone kind, calm, but with inner walls, as if he carried a lot of pain and didn't believe he deserved to be happy. But when he was around Camila, he smiled more. He laughed more. He spoke not like a CEO, but like a friend. But something else was also happening. Feelings were growing, and that scared her. One night, the girls were already asleep and Mr. Adebayo was watching a soccer game. Victor and Camila sat silently at the garden table. The moon was full, and the stars scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. Victor leaned forward. "There's something," he said, calmly swirling his glass of orange juice. "I never liked it back here. This part of the house felt empty." Camila looked at him. "It's quiet now because of you." She lowered her eyes shyly. "I've been trying to help you." "No," Victor said softly. "Helping us isn't just what you did. You brought this house, my father and me, back to life." A silent weight filled the air, but it was a beautiful weight. "When I built this house," Victor continued, "I thought it would be a place to hide. But money doesn't build homes. People do." Camila nodded slowly. "That's what my mom said. She said love is what makes a place home." Victor's eyes glittered under the garden lights. "Your mom must have been very wise." "She was," Camila said. "She taught me to help everyone, even if it hurts." Victor looked at her for a long time. Then he took something out of his pocket, a small box. He opened it. A diamond ring glittered under the lights. "Ever since I carried you to my father on that motorcycle, I knew you were special. But when I saw how you brought this house, my family, and even me back to life, I realized something. I realized I can't live without you. I love you, Camila, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Camila's eyes filled with tears. She didn't need time to think. She already knew the answer. "Yes," she said as she hugged him tightly. "Yes, Victor." The wedding took place in the luxurious garden, under arches of white roses and ivory candles. Government officials, celebrities, prominent businessmen, and even former motorcycle delivery drivers attended. Lucia and Micaela walked ahead in matching dresses, throwing petals. Mr. Adebayo, proud and joyful, walked her halfway down the road, then stopped, wiped his tears, and said, "Your parents would be so proud today. But today I have the pride of being the one giving you away." Victor waited at the altar, a smile that couldn't be erased from his face. Camila wore a simple but elegant dress, her hair tied back with a silk veil. She looked like a queen, but more than that, she looked whole. Finally whole. They said their vows, kissed, and became one. 2 years after their wedding, they welcomed their first child, a baby girl, and Victor was there every step of the way, making Camila feel so emotional she cried. She felt safe, loved. A year later, at a youth empowerment conference in the city, Camila stood on a stage in front of hundreds of young people from Tanzania and Kenya. Behind her, a screen displayed the title of her talk, "One Act of Kindness Can Change Everything." "My name is Camila Rojas Kilangasa. A few years ago, I was a package delivery girl, orphaned, forgotten, struggling to survive. But one morning, I saw a man lying in the street. Everyone ignored him, but I stopped. I lost my job that day, not knowing I was saving a billionaire's father. Today, I am that billionaire's wife, a mother, a college graduate, and a manager at one of the largest logistics companies in the country, all because I chose kindness. Never stop helping someone, even if you're afraid, even if you can't repay them. Because kindness always comes back to those who give it with a sincere heart. I am proof. My story is proof. And I believe each of you can be too. The crowd erupted in applause. Sitting in front of the audience were Lucia and Michaela, now mature teenagers. And in Victor's arms, he held his little daughter, named Julieta, in honor of Camila's mother, the one who taught him everything about love. But problems began to appear. Not everyone was happy with the changes. Sanchez, the former branch manager who had fired Camila, had heard about her new position and the environment she lived in. Envy consumed him. A simple delivery girl now lives in a mansion with the CEO. She must have manipulated him. She must have faked the accident to gain his sympathy. He began spreading rumors. One day, an anonymous message arrived at the reception desk of Triple Cargo headquarters. Your darling girl is not what you think. Ask her how she got to the accident site. Look closer. There's more than you imagine. The message was unsigned, but its intention was clear: to sow doubt. Victor read the message silently. He clenched his fists. He didn't want to believe it, but he'd been betrayed before. Deeply hurt. Instead of confronting Camila directly, he began a private investigation into the incident. He looked for witnesses, anything that could confirm or refute these accusations. During that time, he didn't tell Camila anything about the truth. He acted normal, but there was something cold in his gaze. Camila noticed. One rainy Sunday morning, Camila returned home from extra classes at the university, completely soaked. She was about to enter the living room when she heard Victor on the phone. I don't care what it costs. Make sure there was some connection. I want the full truth. If she lied, I want to know. Camila's heart skipped a beat. Was he talking about her? She hid quietly behind the door, unsure whether she should speak or leave quietly. Her breathing became labored. Was it possible he didn't really believe her? That same evening during dinner, the family was eating when a domestic employee entered. Sir, there's a woman at the door. She says she knows Camila. Camila frowned. Who? The employee handed her a handwritten note. I know what happened to your parents. Come alone. Don't tell her anything. Camila's hands trembled. What did this mean? She walked out quietly, and in the doorway, under a dim, flickering light, stood an elderly woman with an old headscarf. Her eyes were tired but sharp. Who are you? Camila asked. The woman took a deep breath. I was your parents' neighbor. I know who killed them. Camila's world almost collapsed. The truth, the buried truth she had tried to forget, now it was at the door. The woman who introduced herself as Mrs. Stella sat in the dim light, looking like a shadow of another life. Old, worn down by the weight of secrets. Camila's voice was barely a whisper. She knew my parents. I was their neighbor, the woman said quickly. My name is Mrs. Stella. I lived in the second house from theirs, back where they lived before. I've been living with guilt for over 2 years. But when I saw you on the news, I knew I had to find you. Camila took a step forward fearfully. Why now? Why didn't you say anything sooner? I was scared, she replied. But I saw you help that old man, even when you knew you could lose everything. You risked everything. I realized that maybe this girl deserves to know the truth. Camila's hands shook. Tell me. Stella leaned closer. The robbery that tore your parents apart wasn't bad luck. Camila's heart stopped for a moment. What? It was planned, Stella whispered. Your father refused to sell the company's land to a certain businessman. That man threatened him. A week later, the robbery occurred. But that night, I saw something from my window. A white car was parked outside, the driver talking on the phone. That wasn't an ordinary robbery. It was a planned murder. Tears streamed down Camila's face. All her hopes crumbled. All this time, she thought it was just bad luck. But it had been a planned murder. Who was that man? She asked, her voice breaking. Stella looked down. I don't know his name, the woman said. But I wrote down the license plate number that night. I kept it carefully. She handed Camila a crumpled piece of paper. Camila took it with a trembling hand, looking at the numbers intently. The next morning, Camila walked into Victor's office. He was working on documents at his computer. Camila placed the paper on his desk. I need your help. Victor looked at her. What is this? It's a license plate. I need to know who owns this car. It has a connection to my parents' deaths. Victor looked down at her face. Where did you get this? Someone gave it to me last night. The person who sent the message during dinner. She's a witness. Victor looked at her carefully. You should have told me sooner. I didn't know if I should, he answered honestly. I heard your phone call. You were investigating me. I felt like you didn't trust me. Victor stood up and walked over. Camila, listen to me. I never doubted your heart. But I've been burned before. I had to protect my father, my company, and even you. If there had been anything wrong, I needed to know about it. But I never stopped believing you. Camila nodded slowly. I'm going to find the owner of that car, Victor promised. Within 48 hours, Victor's private investigator returned with answers. The car was registered to a cover company, and the name on the cover was Dr. Bruno, a businessman with a suspicious reputation. He had been linked to politicians and was a dangerous man. Camila's father had once worked with him, but he refused to participate in covering up land-related bribes. They called Camila to come and listen as well. Now, it all made sense. Camila was filled with anger, pain, and sadness, but also peace. She hadn't imagined things. Her parents had been murdered on purpose. And now, with Victor's help, she was ready to take legal action. Carefully and cautiously. She wasn't alone on this journey. Weeks passed. After 5 months of cases going back and forth in court, the corporate court finally made the final decision to convict those responsible for the murder of Camila's parents. The prime suspect, Dr. Bruno, stood in the courtroom. The evidence against him was overwhelming. He couldn't explain his call to the gang leader, giving him murder instructions with the address of Camila's parents' home. The car registered under his cover name was also present at the scene that night. He was sentenced to life in prison. 2 weeks later, the sentence was carried out. Camila and her younger sisters were given peace, standing in front of their parents' graves. Her parents finally obtained justice with Victor's help. The gang leader who sent his young men to commit the murder had already been killed by the police during a robbery incident, a year after murdering Camila's parents. Now Camila was a freshman in college, studying data analysis as planned. Lucia and Micaela had returned to school as well, attending an expensive elite school on a full scholarship from Victor. Mr. Adebayo was healthier than ever, walking around the mansion. But something had changed between Camila and Victor. They didn't need to say what they felt. Everyone saw it. Even when they walked, Camila felt there was a natural connection between them. One night, Camila was studying in the house's library. Victor entered quietly. He stared at her for a moment. Then he coughed softly. Camila looked back. Yes. He approached slowly and knelt beside her chair. Camila breathed slowly. Ever since I carried you to my father on that motorcycle, I knew you were special. But when I saw how you brought life back to this house, to my family, and even to me, I realized one thing. He took a small box from his pocket and opened it. A diamond ring glittered in the library light. I realize you're not just someone special, and I want to spend my whole life with you. Camila's eyes filled with tears. She didn't need to think. She already knew the answer. Yes. She hugged him tightly. Yes, Victor. The wedding took place in the luxurious garden under arches of white roses and ivory candles. Government officials, celebrities, prominent businessmen, and even former motorcycle delivery drivers attended. Lucia and Micaela walked ahead in matching dresses, throwing petals. Mr. Adebayo, proud and joyful, walked her halfway down the road, then stopped, wiped his tears, and said, Your parents would be so proud today. But today, I have the pride of being the one giving you away. Victor waited at the altar, a smile that couldn't be erased from his face. Camila wore a simple but elegant dress. She looked like a queen, but more than that, she looked complete. They said their vows, kissed, and became one. 2 years after their wedding, they welcomed their first child, a daughter they named Julieta, in honor of Camila's mother, who taught her everything about love. Victor was present every step of the way during the pregnancy, something that made Camila feel so many emotions that she cried with joy. She felt safe, loved, complete. A year later, at a youth empowerment conference in the city, Camila stood on a stage in front of hundreds of young people. Behind her, a screen displayed the title of her talk, "One Act of Kindness Can Change Everything." She adjusted her microphone and began. My name is Camila Rojas Quilangasa. A few years ago, I was a package delivery girl, an orphan, forgotten. But one morning I saw a man lying in the street. Everyone ignored him. I stopped. I lost my job that day, unaware that I was saving the father of a billionaire. Today, I am the wife of that billionaire, a mother, a college graduate, and a manager at one of the largest companies in the country. All because I chose kindness. Never stop helping someone, even if you're afraid, even if you can't repay them, because kindness always comes back to those who give it with a sincere heart. I am proof. My story is proof. And I believe you can be too. The crowd erupted in applause. At the front of the audience sat Lucia and Micaela, now strong young adults. And in Victor's arms, he held his little daughter Julieta, who looked up at her mother with shining eyes. Camila walked off the stage with tears of gratitude. She hugged her sisters, she kissed her daughter, and she looked at Victor, the man who had saved her as much as she had saved him. Thank you for everything, she whispered. Thank you to you, he replied, for reminding me that kindness is never lost. If you've made it this far and want to continue seeing life-changing stories, subscribe to the channel